All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the tier system. Now, before we get into that, which is the topic of today's video, I want to briefly talk about Forza Horizon 5 officially being confirmed to come to PS5. I've seen the news and everything. I did get the news late, so I'm not making this video is not going to be about that. That video will be tomorrow once I have all the facts. Once I make sure everything is legit and I'm able to create a script basing, how this will impact the Need for Speed franchise, right? That's what the channel is about. It's about Need for Speed and everything. So yes, I do know about all of that. Make sure you guys go ahead and research that as well. That way you are prepared for tomorrow's video. But some initial thoughts before that video drops. I do think that Need for Speed is in trouble. I think the franchise is in trouble as well, just because Forza is such a big competitor, and how Need for Speed is going right now, it only does current gen, right? So PS4, Xbox, what was that thing called? Xbox One, that's completely off the table. So that's already a part of your community that you don't make games for anymore, right? So your community is, let's say it's 100 people. Obviously it's bigger, but it's 100 people, right? Half of those people are still on old gen. So now you only make the game for 50 people. And now one of your biggest competitors, Forza, which is one of the direct competitors besides Crew to Need for Speed, that's coming over to your remaining player base, right? Which is on the PS5. So out of that, you have 33, 33, 33, right? So now 33 and 33 are PC and Xbox. Boom, those are automatically gone. Just like that, because they already have Forza. They're already playing it. But now the small community that is PS5, which is on current gen, that you make the game for, now they're going to be playing Forza as well. And a lot of people have to understand that the reason why a lot more people were not playing Forza is because they didn't have access to those consoles. They didn't have access to a PC. They didn't have access to Xbox. But now that it's coming over to PS5, there's going to be some changes, 100%. So that next Need for Speed game needs to bring it, because these other two games are very, very powerful in that whole racing sphere, right? And the reason why I say that it's going to be dangerous for Need for Speed is, think about when Crew dropped. When Crew Motorfest dropped, that killed the Unbound player base. It destroyed it. The only people that stayed around were YouTubers and people that were really dedicated to the game. I jumped the Crew 100%, right? But that was way before I even started making videos. But now imagine Forza, right? Which has huge expansions, more cars, more tracks, all that sort of stuff, and a race creator. Yeah, Need for Speed definitely needs to up their game. But that video is coming tomorrow. We're gonna have a whole breakdown. I'm probably gonna drop a community post to basically let everybody know that is happening, and what do they think, what do y'all think. But let's get straight into this one, right? This one right here is about the tier system in Unbound. I'm pretty sure everyone has read this at this point, but basically what I am saying is that it's better than Heat in every single way. I do not agree with that mode, how you have a car that is so much better than every other car in the game, that is the single car that everybody uses. Every other car becomes obsolete automatically. I hated that in Heat, because what was the point of having all these other cars? There's no tiers, there's no separation, there's no variety. None at all. There's no diversity in the cars that people will choose at all, right? So the best way that I could put it is, imagine if, for all those who have not played Heat, imagine if the Lotus, which everybody already thinks is OP and hates, imagine if the Lotus was the best car for not just S+, but for S, A+, A, and B. Every track in the game, the Lotus was able to be played on. And y'all think meta is bad now? At least y'all have diversity from section to section on what meta can be used and what cars you will see. In Heat, there was none of that. The RSR was on the track every time someone was using it. It didn't matter at all. Every track in the game, the RSR was the best at. So I think they did a really good thing here, 100%, man. But let's talk about what y'all have. I think there's around 30 something comments, so it's not going to take all day, but we'll see, right? I personally like the tier system. It gives an opportunity for a lot of cars that may not be the meta a chance to shine. It makes them more viable because they are competitive in one or more classes instead of just having a car that dominates across the board. Exactly. Like, Unbound in the tier system gives us an opportunity to see what the Bel Air is, right? To see how good the Honda Civic is. To see how good really any of these cars that you wouldn't even really consider using. But now, when you actually, you're going to see meta. right? We've already talked about this. Meta will be there regardless. So it's not, I'm not saying that meta is not going to be there. But what I'm saying is that there is diversity from place to place to place because the Lotus cannot go to B, because it cannot go to A or A plus or S, right? Because those top tier cars cannot go down to the lower tiers, it gives other cars a chance to shine, right? And that's what I'm talking about. So I mean, you got like the Mustang, you got the you have the Mini Cooper. Like, you have so many cars from so many sections, so many areas that are being tested and used in lower tiers that you would not have if every car had to be 400 plus. Because why would people use those cars if they could just win with the Lotus, right? You know, it happens now. It happens with all the meta, right? Why would people use all these other cars if they could just use the R8? That's what I'm saying. I'm fine with the system, to be honest, but some S Plus cars need to have their own tier because I swear they finish much faster compared to the rest. I don't think that a tier above S Plus would work. And the reason why it works in places like Forza is because they have so many cars that can be upgraded to such a high level that those cars are going like 300 miles per hour plus, right? There's nothing in Unbound that can even go like, there's nothing in Unbound that can reach such a high cap of miles per hour that it needs to be in its own tier. These all these S Plus cars are all around the same range of top speed, give or take. But the Lotus is so good and the Regera is so good because of how fast they can get to that top speed, how they maintain that top speed, which the Regera actually used to be worse. Like, it used to be way better, but they actually nerfed it into the ground. For all y'all that didn't know, the Regera has been nerfed. It was not like how it acts now. 100%. That thing used to never dip below the top speed ever. Hey, once you hit, what was the top speed on it? Like, I don't even remember. I haven't used the Regera in so long. But whatever, 240 or whatever. Once you hit 240, you're not losing that at all unless you break. That was the only reason. And they nerfed it. So now it kind of like fluctuates between like 230 and 240. But how the Lotus is now, that's how the Regera was in like Volume 1. I think they nerfed it in Volume 2. But anyway, there's no car that has like a top speed of 290. In that case, yes. Also, the tracks, I'm pretty sure the tracks could not, there's no reason for you to be going that fast at all, right? Like, people that be using mods to do like the speed increase and everything like that, they can barely control the cars. And the cars go so fast on those tracks that the tracks are not designed for that. So I think that if they were to have another class above, it would have to be cars going 300 miles per hour. Because now, if you only have a class for the Lotus and the Regera, I mean, to be honest, you're splitting hairs, right? And then on top of that, I don't think people realize, because I get it, y'all don't want to see meta, I get it, but I don't think people realize that the Lotus and the Regera are only meta because there is nothing there to compete with them, right? But if you were to remove if you were to remove the meta, then the next best car would become the meta. Like, it's not, the meta is not gonna go away. Whatever that car is, whether it's the FXXK Evo, whether it's the Spider, whether it's the Bugatti, whatever is the next best car below the Lotus and the Regera, that's what's going to be the meta. That's what everyone is going to jump to once they find out what it is. So just having your own class, it's just going to keep going over and over and over again. That's just how it's going to keep going. The meta's not going to go anywhere. This won't help with it. Agree, I moved from Heat to Unbound because I had enough of RSR and F1 being overused in Heat. Yeah, these two cars, the F1 was not as good as the RSR, but it was better than every other car in the game. And you had to pay for it, which is kind of insane, right? So these two cars right here ran Heat. 100% ran Heat. Everybody would be using the RSR. It was actually insane. Y'all think it's bad now? No. Heat was way worse. I hate it. In Heat, you could get into any race, into races with every car, and it was only one race. In Unbound, you need a specific class, and either you do a long track or you do 3. I hate that. I want short races back. Now, this right here, back then, so they actually changed it for everybody that's new to the game. You actually were not allowed to choose your car. So you know in Gauntlet how you have to have one car for all 3 races? That's how it used to be back then in Unbound. So we actually have it really good how you're able to change your car between races. So now you're able to have a short track car, medium track, long track car. You could pick cars, like you could pick the Rosa for the long tracks, the R8 for the short tracks. That was not a thing back then. That was not a thing when Unbound first came out at all. Like you had to use that car, and that was it for all three of them. So if you wanted a world record on like track 3, you would have to use the Rosa for what, track 1, track 2, then track 3. I'm telling y'all, man. So y'all don't like things that are going on, but it was way worse back then. I promise. I'm starting to sound like an old head, but I promise it was, man. It was. And yeah, I mean, I would say this is just convenience, bro. This is just convenience that you want. I mean, I don't think that the tier system, and this is your opinion, so that's fine, but I don't think the tier system has made it so unnecessarily hard that it's just not possible. Like, that you're wasting time when you do it, right? Unbound, I mean, you do have 3 races, but like I said before, you can pick the car. You can pick the car at all. You can pick the car that you want for each track. So I think that kind of balances it out, right? And he said, I hate that. I want short races back. There's some pretty short races. Tread water is what, a minute? Like, tread water is not even a minute. It can be done in like 58 seconds. That's a pretty short track. And I think that's in B. Rat race is pretty short. And a lot of the S plus tracks I consider short. They're literally in a straight line. Like the oval one, Ostinato, that's a pretty short track. Blue collar and S is a pretty short track. I mean, you can do that track in less than 2 minutes. So I mean, Smoke Show is another one. So I don't think these are long tracks, man. I don't think they're long tracks. Let's see what other people said. You'd constantly get beat on by the R-Star in the F1 all day. Absolutely not, man. Like, and he's just responding to him. That's terrible because there's no variety at all. It's literally just those 2 cars. Every track in the game. And that's what I don't think people are understanding. It's every track in the entire game that you are getting destroyed by that car. Every track. And I'm pretty sure that included off-road as well. Y'all get beat in A+ in the R8. Y'all get beat in S with the R8. But you're not getting beat in B, A+, S, and S+ in the R8. No variety. 400+. I'm talking no competition, no variety. If you don't have the R8, you're losing in every track in the entire game of Unbound. Not just a playlist, not just a tier section, all of them. That's what I'm talking about. The tier system is good. The only thing I wish they'd fix is that some supercars shouldn't be able to participate in lower tiers just because of a transmission change. But other than that, it's a great addition, especially if you want to drive more than just meta cars all the time. Exactly. And I hate to keep going back to it, but it used to be way worse. It really did, man. So I'm glad that a lot of you guys have come into it where a lot of that stuff is gone, that you can no longer do it. For everybody that doesn't know, the Pista, which is an S+ car, the Ferrari, used to be able to go all the way down to B tier. And it destroyed B tier. It's what the Lotus is now in S+. That's what the Pista was. And for everybody that doesn't know, the Ford GT in the Ferrari F40 actually used to be able to go all the way down to A. And it used to smoke everything. A+, and S. Except for S+, right? Because Regera was up there at the time. So all these cars that are hovering around A+ and S, all these supercars and everything, they actually used to be able to go all the way down to B. But they fixed it. They changed it. Now, and I love this update. I love this. Now it is where you can only go down 1 tier from what your car initially started at, right? So if a car is an S and you buy it in S, you can only go down to A+. You can no longer go down to A or B. And that was a great decision on their part. So, I definitely agree with, meta cars all the time. But they did fix this, technically. They shouldn't be able to participate in lower tiers. They did fix it. But at the same time, you have to understand that there are engine swaps in this game. There are a lot of moving parts in this game where you are able to manipulate how your car's rating acts, right? You can put off-road parts on. You can put other parts on that can lower it. You can change the gears. So all that sort of stuff, right? So, I mean, you can't completely get rid of this. You can't, just because there's just too many things, too many factors that can make a car go into a lower or higher class. I like it. I like how I could choose to race lower cars. And this is what I said in my video, right? A lot of people They want variety. They don't want to just be going 200 something miles per hour all the time in every race. Like, I get it. It's Need for Speed. Cool. And people have their stuff for that. They have S plus for that, right? Everybody that's a speed demon, cool. But a lot of people like B, A, and A plus. I would say probably A or A plus are the most popular playlists, just because it's a slower tone. You don't have to like dodge as much traffic. You're able to see what's going on around you. And the cars overall, in my opinion, just handle a lot better at just lower speeds, right? So I 100% racing 400 cars all the time in heat is tiring. I agree. Personally, I think they're a great addition. I think they should expand on it more with maybe more classes, maybe even an X class that's exclusive to Ultimate Parts. Yeah, but they'd have to have Ultimate Parts in the game, though. I'm surprised that they didn't have that in Unbound. But then again, Unbound doesn't have a night mode like how Heat does. Now, I think that they should have put Ultimate Parts in Lockdown. I think that would have been amazing. That would have been a great idea for them to do. And actually, I'm going to write that down because I've been making a list of Lockdown stuff that I think would be better if it was added in the next game. Ultimate Parts like in Heat. I think that would have been a great opportunity for them. But, you know, they got to redo how you get parts in the garage and all that sort of stuff. And that's a lot of work. So, I mean, was it really going to happen? One of my ideas is D class, which is basically, where's the C class? You done skipped C. Which is basically where the bad cars would go, like the Beetle or the Land Rover. The Beetle is amazing, though. So here's the thing. I think that B is perfect because B makes it so that it's bearable. Your car is slow, but it's bearable, right? Anything slower than B, I don't think is even worth putting in a racing game, right? Because B, what? You go 130 something miles per hour max. Anything slower than that, you're regular traffic. Like, I think, like, if it were to go down to like a C class or a D class, at that point, you're going, what? Not even 100 miles per hour? And that's not even a race at that point. If you crash one time, your car is so slow that you can't even catch up, even with boost. So, nah. I think that, like I said, I think that's really splitting hairs. At that point, you're dividing it up too much. I think what they have now is good. I don't mind it, but I wish they would add another class for the Aviha, which is, we already talked about this. We should be able to log on, find an S lobby, and race all day, every day if we want. Am I the only one that notices the cars run differently depending on the rank of who's racing? You talking about like skill-based, like, oh, what's in this instance, rank-based racing or something like that? I mean, I don't know exactly what you're talking about here. Race all day. Am I the only one that notices the cars run differently depending on the rank of who's racing? Like, on your side or their side? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Like, do you notice the cars run better on your side when it's a higher rank? And that might just be due to the skill that they have, right? Like, I'm level 200 or something, right? I'm not going to race like somebody who just got the game. I'm not going to race like a level 80 because I've been playing more. I have way more out. I have quadruple the hours they have on the game, right? So that might just be what it is. Like, people that are doing these races that are higher level, they have a higher skill ceiling. So that's probably why the cars run differently. Because they're able to control the cars correctly. They're able to micro drift. They're able to take the turns. They're able to grip, all that sort of stuff, right? I actually love the class system in Unbound, especially when it comes to Drift Pro, as I feel that A plus is the best class for drifting, as you can still build a 700 to 800 horsepower drift monster and slide your heart away. Exactly, that's what we like, right? Like, imagine if all the drift was just 400 plus. You had to have a maxed out car. You have to have a maxed out car to participate. It wouldn't even be fun. Okay, here we go. God Drifter said the tiers are not that bad in my opinion. It kind of reminds me of how Carbon did their class system. Tier 1 for beginner cars and tier 3 for the high-end stuff. Although it could be a bit of balancing, like for example, the muscle car, those are good in a tier or two higher than stock. Yeah, the Challenger is terrible all over. And the Hellcat, terrible. I heard the Hellcat is actually pretty good in Drift Pro though. I don't know, I don't drift, but I heard it's actually pretty decent. But overall, I believe that if we get the next game, I'm for sure think that the tier system will be there, but tweaked for balancing purposes. Yeah, I don't think there's anything like super game changing for the tier system. off the top of my head, the only thing that I would say is the F40 probably shouldn't be able to go down to A+. That's what I would say. I think the F40 should probably stay in S, because I think that it's not an A+ car. Like, some of the cars definitely should not be able to go down to those lower tiers. I will say that, but majority of it, I think it works pretty good. It's good, but I hate A tier and B tier kind of. In B tier, most cars do 130. I mean, they're just slower. They're just for people that desire slower things. And when racing, everyone tops out at the same speed. So the guy with the best acceleration automatically wins, assuming they don't crash. Yes, I know there's long tracks on B tier, but let's be honest, no RSR is going to let you pass as you try to build up speed. I mean, but that's just the name of the game, right? That's just the nature of the beast. A lot of cars in A+ also have maxed out at around 180. So, I mean, that's just the name of the game. Acceleration is key. A tier got to be the worst tier of all, and it's kind of because of performance rating in the tracks. About 40% or more tracks in A class, you can just cheese them since you don't need insane speed. In shorter tracks, which favors the 130 mile per hour builds, but this time on steroids. He's talking about short track builds. Yeah, I mean, that's just how it is. I mean, that's the same thing in A+. It's the same thing really in S. S is also one of those that favors short builds as well, like blue collar, 100%. Blue collar, what's the one by the lake that you drive around the lake? I think it's Lakeside, that one. There's a lot of tracks that benefit from having those. Hard 8 is a big one, and that's what A. Hard 8 is a very big one. Rat Race. All of those tracks are tracks that are just really short. So, I mean, it's not even just A, man. It's all of them, to be honest. So, I get it, but all it is, and I wouldn't even say this is a tier problem. This is more so of a build problem, right? Like, they allow you to build cars that can fit in the tiers, but have insane horsepower or have like really low top speeds and stuff like that. I wouldn't say that's a tier problem. That's more so of just a build issue, right? Or not even an issue, but something that you can do with the creativity that they give you for builds. And I wish that every car could have the same handling as the Audis, the M3 Wagon, the Integra, and the Dark Horse, so every car can be viable. That's why the R8 is so good. The handling carries it. He's talking about Kaizen handling here. Yeah, Kaizen handling, I mean, it's all-wheel drive, so it doesn't lose speed on dirt. It doesn't lose as much speed on the dirt. The handling is definitely a big part of it. Overall, I would say if no cars had Kaizen handling and all these cars still dropped, I would say the R8 would probably be it'd still probably be up there. It may not be the best. I don't think it would beat out like the F40, because the F40 is a monster, right? But because it's all-wheel drive and the power that it has, I think that it probably would still be up there in top 5. I mean, you pretty much summed it up. He's talking about my video. If y'all have not seen the video, and also he's talking about the post that I made, the little discussion all the way at the top here. If y'all haven't read that or you haven't seen the video, make sure you go and check that out. It's not perfect, but at least I choose what flavor of OP car I want to suffer to a degree. I just want better engine swaps for the lower tier cars, but I know it's not happening. Not in this game. Maybe in the next game, but not in this one. Build any car for S and have a good time. Build car for S Plus only for lockdown so you are safe and sound. It's bad. Unfortunate how in Heat we can use lower tier cars and be able to get them up to 400 plus through forged engines, but those are gone and the handling is terrible on most of those cars when you get them close to a fully maxed out S Plus rating. I do agree, because like I said in my post, the Dark Horse is terrible at S Plus. And what I think the problem is that it wasn't really designed to handle all of the power and handle that speed that's going, so it makes the handling terrible. Like the Regera. The Regera is designed for S Plus. The Lotus is designed for S Plus. The Bugatti is designed for S Plus. So those cars handle very good at those higher speeds. And I would even say that those cars at lower speeds, like the speeds you would go around like B, A plus, the handling sucks because they're not designed for that. They're designed to be driven very fast and have very good handling when they're very fast. So, but I mean, in Unbound, you can still use lower tier cars and get them up to 400 plus, but you have to understand that if you go all the way up to S plus, you're gonna get beat by the Lotus. Like I said before, the Lotus is literally designed for S plus. The car that you're bringing up from B, yes, sure, it's an S plus, but it's not like the Lotus S plus, right? So I like the tier system. I do feel that there should be a separate class for the Evija, Regera type vehicles. The players that use the Evija every second of the game really ruin it for the others who are trying to have a good time on some S plus races. I mean, just there's nothing you can do about it. The only thing that you can actually do realistically is just not care about winning. That's literally the only thing that you can do. I mean, that's just how it is, man. And like I said for the other comment, just because you get rid of the meta vehicles does not mean there's not more meta. The only reason why these are meta is because they're the only vehicle that is able to do what they do. They have the highest top speed. They are able to get there super quick. One has one gear and one is electric. And one of them is all-wheel drive, right? So, of course they're going to be meta. But when you remove these, even in the other class, even in the next class that it goes up to, like if it was the X class, the Evija is still going to be meta. It's still going to be the best car because it's the best car, period, in the game. So it's still going to be the best. And for S plus, that just means that probably the Spider, that just means the Spider is going to be the meta car now, and everybody's just going to go to the Spider. That problem doesn't go away because you get rid of the two best cars. The next best car under that is just going to become the best car. I think they're just ranting right here. I think they should continue the tier system. Without it, every race would have maxed out cars. Sometimes I want to race realistic powered cars. That's why I love A plus and S. I think A plus is definitely, in my opinion, the most popular. Then I would say it's probably followed by S, then by A, then by B, then by S plus. I would say that. He just became the RSR on highway races and NASCAR 24/7. Nobody knew how to use anything else but the fastest cars. S plus is the same with the Regera and the Evija. S and A plus with the R8. A plus and lower with the Testarossa. I mean, that's just meta though. Like I don't know. Like, I don't even know what to really say anymore. I mean, that's just meta in general, bro. Meta's just not gonna go. It's never gonna go away. That's just how it is because there's always gonna be one car that does it better than every other car in the game. Always. Honestly, I didn't like it when the game came out because I preferred the unrealistic speeds of all the cars. Being able to compete at the highest speed back in Heat. I've grown to like it though. This is definitely the most balanced Need for Speed has been in a while, even if that's only by direct comparison to older games. I do find it funny how the RSR still found a way to be meta, even if it's not the outright fastest anymore though. The RSR, there's a conspiracy going around that they favor Porsche. That Need for Speed in general favors Porsche, and I do think that's true. The RSR has been very good in a lot of games. I think it was the best in 2015. It was very good in Payback. It was the best in Heat, and it's one of the best in Unbound. So the RSR, I think the RSR will continue to be, if not the best car, it will be a top 5 or top 10 car. I don't think we will have a Heat event again where the RSR was just the best car hands down. I don't think that will ever happen again just because there's just too much variety now and there's just too many people that have called for that never to happen again, right? So I think that they created this tier system seeing how bad it was in Heat, seeing how there was no variety. So now that there's a tier system, I doubt, unless they go back to an older game, I 100% doubt that we will ever have an RSR situation in Heat ever again. Like that's done. That's never coming back. I think they're just ranting right here. Yeah, we'll read this one. It's a great system, but I hope it's greatly improved upon in the next game. PR values top speed too much, and a car's handling is never factored in. Yeah, like once you get to those higher tiers, dude, if the car is not built for 200 plus miles per hour, your car is sliding all over the place. It's insane. Need for Speed Heat would have washed Unbound if it got the support Unbound did. The story as short as it was absolutely amazing. But I mean, people love to say this, but the thing about it is like, dude, you could say that for every game. You could say that for every single Need for Speed game. I mean, obviously, Unbound wouldn't even be out if Heat had the support that Unbound had. I mean, you could say that for every game before Heat, right? Let's say if Payback got Unbound's treatment, if Most Wanted got Unbound's treatment, if all these other games got Unbound's treatment. I mean, obviously, right? But no, I think that Unbound probably, if both of them were to come out right now with the same amount of DLC and same amount of stuff, honestly don't know who would win that. I really don't. Just you saying not to dog on the meta issue is enough to show the tier system is a double-edged sword with its pros and cons. Yeah, I mean, like, I'm not saying that this is not full of cons. That's not what I'm saying, y'all. What I'm saying is that it's better than what we've had, which is Heat, where the RSR was supremacy. It was a RSR reign, like a kingdom of RSR. I'm not saying that this doesn't have its problems. Meta's going to be everywhere. But I'm saying it's way better than what we had before. Keep the same energy. Nobody liked the RSR because it was busted. But no, let's not dog on cars such as the Rosa in classes B through A+, the R8 in A+, the 200 GTR in S class. Nobody really uses that anymore. The V-High in S+. In fact, it's not even like, I don't even think this is top 5 anymore. The V-High in S+. If anything, I've run into more meta cars on Unbound than RSRs in Heat. If anything, the RSR was only good at holding speed through turns and quicker acceleration just as it passed 180 miles per hour. Hell, the RSR in some circumstances was beatable. I doubt it. If you went against a competitive player who was in the RSR, you're not beating them. You're not, because the RSR cannot be competed with. It was the best car, the meta. The F1, which is the second best car in the game, could not compete with the RSR at all. But let's break this down, right? I like the RSR. When I'm in a game, I have no problem with meta. I don't care about meta because I understand that if I want to win, then I need to be in the best thing that is available in the game. I understand that. I don't care that I don't use other cars or anything like that. That doesn't bother me. So I'm not like where people are like, oh, you only have to use meta or you can only use meta and stuff like that. That doesn't bother me because that's my intention. My intention is to be the fastest on the game. If not the fastest, then one of the fastest, right? So I don't care about meta and everything like that. It's never bothered me. I don't care if other people use it. I've had plenty of videos talking about all that sort of stuff. And I understand that if I want to win, then I have to use it. If I cannot complain, I cannot get on here and complain that I'm losing, but I'm not putting myself in the best position to win. Doesn't make sense, right? So that's why I like meta and all that sort of stuff. I'm keeping the same energy. But what I'm saying is that there are more classes for you to choose from to use more cars. The V-High is not the best car in every class in the game. The R8 is not the best in every. You're not going to see the R8 in B or A, right? You're not going to see the Rosa in S+. You're not going to see the Rosa in S. You might see it in S, but you're not going to see it in those higher tiers. And that's what I mean. The RSR was B through S+. Every track in the game. Every single one of them. No competition at all. And that's why this tier system is better than what we had in Heat. So, but like, I'm never going to dog on meta cars because I just don't, it doesn't bother me. That's why. I see no problem with meta. And I understand that meta will always be there because no car is going to be the exact same. If every car had the exact same stats, exact same weight distribution, exact same engine swaps, exact same parts, exact same power, all that sort of stuff, then yes, there would be no meta, but it's not. And I understand that regardless, there will be a meta. As I said like multiple times before, just because you get rid of the V-High doesn't mean anything. I feel like people are forgetting that the Regera was the meta until the V-High came. There's no winning that, because if the V-High was worse than the Regera, then the Regera would still be meta. They made the V-High better than the Regera, so it took the problem that the Regera had and put it on the V-High. So now the V-High is the one that everybody uses instead of the Regera. There is no way for you to actually win against that right there, because both of those cars don't perform the same. So it was going to be either the Regera is still the best or the V-High is the best. That's honestly just how it is, right? So there's no winning against meta, man. And he just ranted right here. I think I responded, but let's see. What is this? Pin this link for Great Orange Dove Afghanistan. Get this guy out of here. I don't even know what that is. Can't wait to throw Unbound in the trash when I think this is Tokyo Racing, right? I heard this game is really good, but I have not played it. It's on PC. I have a gaming PC. That's what I'm streaming on, but streaming and recording the video on, but I just haven't done it. But anyway, y'all, I do appreciate everybody that has commented on this. Everybody has liked the post as well. I do think that a lot of people do like this tier system, so that's excellent. I do think it needs to be brought into the next game, but I just keep B, A plus, S, and S plus. I don't think there needs to be a C class or really anything else like that. I don't think that's really necessary. That's splitting hairs at that point, and you're making too much diversity. There is such thing as too many classes, too many cars, all that sort of stuff, right? Like in Forza, it can get very confusing because there's just so many classes, right? And it's just so particular in what class it'll go to depending on what you put in the car. But anyway, y'all, life has been going on. Nothing bad, just busy. That's why I haven't been dropping a lot of videos. But hey, we are back to probably daily uploads. So make sure y'all boys go ahead and stick around, stay tuned. If you enjoyed, make sure go ahead and drop a like on the video. Drop a comment if you agree or disagree. Make sure you go ahead and drop a sub, and I will see y'all all in the next video tomorrow talking about Forza Horizon 5 and the Need for Speed series.